Humans in general have gone through countless forms of suffering, and those pains have become almost a part of life. However, this problem of misery and hardship is not limited to modern humans but extends to all of humanity. For hundreds of thousands of years before writing existed and history was recorded, human beings lived in a world where nature, animals, and even their own kind were deadly threats every single day. Fossils once buried under layers of ice, rock, and mud tell us a story completely different from the romanticized idea of the primitive age. It was not just death. It was brutal tragedies, the earliest murders, horrific accidents, and even rituals so disturbing they defy imagination. In today's video, we will explore the most terrifying prehistoric deaths ever discovered. Confirmed by archaeologists and ancient forensic scientists through the traces left on bones. Some of the content may be shocking, but it helps us better understand the fragility of humans in the past. Human suffering began in the distant past, among species of the genus Homo, species that unfortunately went extinct over time. Although no one fully agrees on the exact number, many scientists believe there were around 14 Homo species that once existed. All of them, except us, who appeared and disappeared over the past 2.8 million years. Homo sapiens alone have existed for roughly 300,000 years. This number sounds long, but when placed beside nearly 3 million years of human lineage history, it becomes incredibly small. And when you imagine just how long 3 million years truly is, you begin to realize that the world our ancient ancestors and our cousins lived in was completely different from today. That meant different experiences, different kinds of suffering, and different forms of death, some of which cannot be recreated in the modern world. Not only because the causes no longer exist, but because some events are beyond our current ability to replicate. A prime example is the first individual below, the person now considered the oldest confirmed murder victim in human history. Around 430,000 years ago, at the dawn of humanity, in a treacherous rocky region of what is now Atapuerca, Spain, one of the oldest known homicide cases took place. The victim was a Homo heidelbergensis individual, a distant ancestor of Neanderthals and of ourselves. Their story was not recorded in writing, but in the cold fractures on a skull found at the bottom of a deep cave. The discovery site, Cima de los Huesos, meaning the pit of bones, is a vertical shaft descending nearly 13 meters underground. This place contains more than 28 prehistoric human skeletons, preserved thanks to the cold and oxygen-poor environment. Among them, the skull known as CR-17 became the focal point of archaeological and forensic studies. When reconstructed, 2 circular depressions on the forehead appeared so clearly that they could not be ignored. 2 strong blows delivered from the front, spaced evenly apart and nearly identical in shape. 3-dimensional analysis showed that the force was strong enough to shatter the bone into many small fragments, a fracture pattern usually seen when struck by a hard object, possibly a sharp stone or a heavy wooden club. More important than anything else was the direction and angle of the 2 wounds. Both were inflicted while the victim was still alive, and more importantly, they came from the same hand, the same direction, and the same intent. This was not a fall, not a rock impact, and certainly not an animal attack. This was deliberate homicide. Scientists believe that after being killed, the body was thrown into the Cima de los Huesos pit. Was this a place to dispose of criminals' bodies? A primitive form of collective burial? Or was this deep shaft a death pit used by the community to handle corpses? All of it remains a mystery, but one thing is certain. The victim did not fall in by accident. They were dead before their body reached the bottom of the pit. What makes this case particularly significant is that it marks the earliest clear evidence of human-on-human murder in human history. It shows that organized violence existed very early, long before humans learned to use metal, long before agriculture, and back when survival depended entirely on a harsh natural world. In a world full of danger, the greatest enemy was sometimes not wild animals or natural disasters, but other humans. Another death was discovered in 1991 in the Alps on the border between Austria and Italy. Two hikers accidentally spotted a dark brown object emerging from melting ice. They thought it was just a recent mountaineering accident. But archaeologists quickly realized the body had been lying there for 5,300 years. From that moment, the world came to know Ötzi, the most complete naturally preserved prehistoric mummy, and the story of his death still fuels scientific debate today. Ötzi was not an ordinary wanderer on the mountain. His body was preserved almost perfectly, from bone structure, internal organs, and skin to the tattoos etched with charcoal ash. His clothing included a goatskin coat, cold-resistant shoes stuffed with grass, and a bearskin cloak, all of which showed he was an experienced survivor. But even such careful preparation could not save him from a brutal tragedy. When scientists examined his body through CT scan, they discovered something shocking. An arrow had pierced his back, passed through his left shoulder, and severed the subclavian artery. A wound capable of causing rapid blood loss. The arrow itself was no longer there. Only the broken flint arrowhead remained inside. This shows that someone had pulled the arrow out. Perhaps Ötzi himself in desperation, or the attacker retrieving their weapon. But Ötzi's death did not end there. His skull showed signs of brain hemorrhage, the result of a strong blow to the head shortly before he died. It is unclear whether the blow was meant to kill him or occurred after he collapsed. But it is evident he experienced a series of deliberate acts of violence. Many hypotheses have been proposed. He was ambushed while traveling through the mountains. He was fleeing from a group of people and collapsed from exhaustion in a snowstorm. Or it was an act of revenge. As his belongings suggest, he held some status within his group. In addition, Ötzi's pouch contained strange items, pieces of dried fungi identified as birch polypore. Mildly toxic, but used medicinally at the time for fighting infection, treating parasites, and reducing pain. This shows he lived in an environment filled with disease and danger. His body also bore signs of arthritis, gallstones, intestinal parasites, and even traces of Lyme disease, proving that life in that era was far from peaceful. The arrow, the blow to the head, and the fact that he was left on a snowy peak more than 3,000 meters high all point to one conclusion. Ötzi did not die from nature, but from an organized attack. He may have been running for many hours, perhaps even many days, trying to cross the Alps to escape. But in the end, the cold, blood loss, and injuries ended his life in one of the most desolate places in prehistoric Europe. Thanks to the freezing conditions, his body almost completely stopped decomposing, as if time itself had preserved him as an eternal witness to his era. Just like Ötzi, many other prehistoric humans did not die from warfare or predators, but from something far more silent: the sudden collapse of the very shelters they relied on. For hundreds of thousands of years, caves were the safest homes humans knew. They protected against predators, against freezing winds and deep snow, and against scorching heat when the climate shifted. But ironically, those solid stone roofs became the tombs of countless prehistoric people. Archaeologists have identified a recurring pattern. Around 20% of prehistoric human fossils found in caves show signs of death caused by collapsing rock or being crushed by soil, ice, or sediment. The signs on the skeletons are very different from hunting accidents or animal attacks. They show the unmistakable characteristics of massive compressive force, occurring suddenly and giving the victims no chance to escape. Many skulls were found flattened or broken into large pieces from top to bottom. Ribs were bent unnaturally, sometimes folded inward as if an enormous weight had been pressed onto the chest. Arm and leg bones were often shattered, with no cut marks or bite marks, proving the death occurred before any animals could reach the bodies. These injury patterns match natural disasters that prehistoric humans frequently faced. Avalanches during the Ice Age, when a loud noise or a slight temperature shift could send tons of ice sliding down. Cave roof collapses caused by melting ice or minor earthquakes. landslides after heavy rains, sealing the cave entrance and burying people alive inside, falling rocks from unstable cave walls, especially in areas where prehistoric humans made fires or used torches that caused rock to expand, crack, and fall. In some cases, archaeologists found multiple individuals who had died together, lying close to one another in curled positions, suggesting they were buried while sleeping or sheltering through the winter. Some excavation sites even revealed more tragic scenes, evidence showing that many people died while trying to escape the cave, but the exit had been blocked by a massive rock. A typical example is the Homo erectus fossils discovered in many caves across Asia. Many of the skeletons share similar injuries: depressed skull fractures, compressed vertebrae, and dislocated limb bones. There were no signs of attack or stone tools. The frightening fact is that such accidents could occur within seconds. Not enough time for those inside the cave to react or flee. Prehistoric caves were also nothing like the stable, well-lit tourist caves we see today. They were often damp, unstable, and constantly eroded by groundwater, ice, and cold winds. Just one minor climate change, such as an unusually warm day in the middle of winter, could cause the cave roof to crack or collapse. Therefore, for our ancestors, cave collapses were a constant threat, equal to predators and famine. Even so, prehistoric humans still chose to live in caves because they had no safer alternative. But even when they avoided collapses and natural disasters, prehistoric humans still had to face the gigantic predators that once ruled the earth. Today, humans are at the top of the food chain, but tens of thousands of years ago, our ancestors were merely fragile prey in a wild world. This truth is confirmed by fossils bearing marks of fangs, sharp claws, and powerful killing blows. In ancient sites, archaeologists have found countless human skeletons showing bite marks from animals that are now extinct, but were once nightmares for early humans. One of them was the European cave lion, a big cat far larger than the modern African lion. With a single strike, it could break ribs and tear apart the shoulder of its victim. The traces it left are very distinctive: arc-shaped bite marks on the thigh bone and deep scratches from claws dragging downward. Equally terrifying was the saber-toothed Smilodon, a massive predator famous for its canines up to 20 centimeters long. Deep grooves on the skulls and shoulder bones of several ancient human remains show that victims were attacked by a powerful bite, strong enough to pierce flesh and reach the bone. Unlike modern cats, which usually attack the throat, the saber-toothed cat attacked directly at the face or shoulder to knock victims down before finishing them. But perhaps the most fearsome enemy of prehistoric humans was the giant hyena, the animal with the strongest bite force in the entire ecosystem of that time. Hyena bite marks on human bones are very distinctive. Deep punctures measuring from 1 to 2 centimeters, along with crushed bone fragments. They did not simply kill prey, they crushed bones to eat the marrow, and prehistoric humans were no exception. Many skulls have been found with the entire upper half shattered, indicating the hyenas attempted to reach the brain, a highly valuable nutrient source. Scientists have also recorded evidence of the cave bear Ursus spelaeus, a massive bear capable of standing more than 3 meters tall. Human fossils showing cave bear attacks often display ribs hooked upward in the manner of a direct claw strike, and sometimes skulls cracked from behind, matching the bear's typical downward attack strategy. What makes these discoveries significant is not only their ability to reveal causes of death, but also reveal a larger picture of prehistoric human survival. The traces on the bones show that prehistoric humans were often attacked while sleeping in caves, places that seemed safe, yet attracted scavenging predators. They could be ambushed while hunting, especially when tracking prey in dangerous areas. Some skeletons were found scattered throughout caves with no burial pattern, proving the bodies had been dragged away and torn apart like any other prey. Some discoveries even revealed more horrifying scenes. Many human bones were found mixed with animal bones, showing that after being killed, their remaining body parts had been dragged back to predator dens to be consumed gradually. Notably, these traces appeared not only on adults but also on children. This shows that the threat of predators was constant, regardless of age, gender, or social role. In a world without metal tools, without effective long-range weapons, and without walls or artificial light, humans were merely a tiny part of the ecosystem and could be erased within seconds by a stronger predator. Fire was one of humanity's greatest achievements. But for hundreds of thousands of years, it was also the cause of countless tragic deaths. Archaeological evidence shows many prehistoric human bones were carbonized, charred, or heat-warped, leaving unmistakable signs of both natural and man-made fires. The indicators of bones exposed to high heat are distinctive, surfaces turning black or bluish-black, sometimes cracking into small diagonal web-like patterns. At extremely high temperatures, bones may even warp and break, a type of damage showing the victim was directly exposed to flames while soft tissue contracted. Many deaths are explained by ancient wildfires when dry, hot climates turned forests, stretching tens of kilometers into blazing infernos triggered by a single lightning strike. Prehistoric humans with no knowledge of wind direction or fire spread speed could easily become trapped in mountain passes or open grasslands, unable to escape in time. However, another form of death occurred right inside the very spaces prehistoric humans used as shelter: caves. When they lit fires for warmth or cooking in enclosed spaces, accumulated smoke could cause suffocation, while high heat could crack cave ceilings, leading to simultaneous collapse and fire. Many skeletons were found with signs of direct burning, while surrounding rocks were coated in thick layers of soot, proving they died in their daily living area. More striking are cases where bone patterns show the victims did not die in the fire, but were thrown into it after death. This is identified by uneven burning across the bones, with some sections lacking soft tissue but retaining their full shape prior to carbonization. This is evidence of two possibilities: early cremation rituals when humans began intentionally processing bodies, acts of violence in which bodies were burned to erase evidence or as part of intergroup revenge. In prehistoric times, when resources were scarce and climate constantly changed, conflicts between groups were unavoidable. Skeletons with clean, sharp injuries, characteristic of stone tools, are evidence that organized violence emerged very early. The traces on bones are clear and unmistakable. Long slashes on skulls, often causing straight-line fractures. Fine cuts on ribs made by stone blades during attacks. Fractures on forearm bones, typical injuries from raising an arm to block a blow. A desperate final act of self-defense. The most striking evidence of human-on-human violence comes from Jebel Sahaba, a 13,000-year-old cemetery along the Nile River in Sudan. There, archaeologists found 77 skeletons, many with dozens of arrows still embedded in their bodies. Some victims had 20 to 28 wounds from various weapons: spears, stone arrows, small blades. Importantly, these wounds came from different directions, proving they were attacked by multiple people at once, not in a one-on-one fight. Science suggests this was not simply a war, but a large-scale massacre aimed at eliminating an entire opposing group. Some bodies even had arrows broken in half, showing they were shot at extremely high speed or their bodies were moving forcefully at the moment of impact. Others had wounds that had healed previously, proving violence was not rare. It was something they faced many times in their lives. From these findings, scientists have proposed two main hypotheses: conflicts over resources, especially water sources and hunting grounds during harsh climatic periods; early territorial warfare, where human groups competed for survival using whatever primitive weapons they had. Unlike the dry caves prehistoric humans often sheltered in, many cave systems around the world contained underground water pits where light could not reach, and the only descent was through steep, slippery walls. These places became natural death traps for anyone who wandered into them during a time without strong torches or knowledge of the terrain. Archaeologists have found many human skeletons in flooded caves, most famously the cenotes in Mexico, which were dry cave systems tens of thousands of years ago, but were later fully submerged as sea levels rose. Human bones in these water-filled caves share common features. No injuries caused by violence or predators, bones distributed in free-fall patterns, showing the victims fell from above. No signs of attempted climbing, proving they died underwater and could not escape on their own. The most notable case is Naya, a girl about 15 to 17 years old who lived 13,000 years ago. Her remains were found more than 40 meters deep inside a completely dark underwater cave. Based on bone structure and DNA, she belonged to one of the first groups of humans to reach the Americas after the Ice Age receded. But her death was simple and tragic. She slipped and fell into a water-filled pit while navigating the darkness. Her chances of surviving were nearly zero. Analysis shows Naya did not die immediately. She may have struggled underwater until she became exhausted. However, the dark and empty environment beneath the water meant no one could hear her cries for help. Naya's body lay at the bottom for thousands of years, preserved by the cave's unique mineral conditions. What makes this discovery valuable is not only the circumstances of her death, but the fact that Naya is one of the oldest human skeletons ever found in the Americas, helping decode humanity's migration into the New World. Before the age of medicine, even the simplest diseases we know today could be a death sentence. When archaeologists analyzed prehistoric human bones, they found countless signs showing that our ancestors endured illnesses that ravaged the body in ways unimaginable to us today. One of the most common conditions was bone infection, osteomyelitis. On many skeletons, bones were swollen abnormally, their surfaces pitted with hundreds of tiny holes. Signs of bacteria eating away from within. Victims certainly suffered prolonged pain, because bone infection does not kill immediately, but instead drains the body day by day, accompanied by fever, swelling, and agony so severe they could barely walk. Another disease that left clear traces was spinal tuberculosis, which often attacked the vertebrae. The victim's vertebrae were eroded, collapsed, and fused together, bending the back and causing lifelong pain. These marks show that tuberculosis existed tens of thousands of years ago, causing slow and cruel deaths equal to any predator. In addition, dental disease was one of the classic causes of death. Without toothbrushes, without dentists, and with a diet full of tough plant fibers, tooth enamel wore down quickly. An untreated cavity could lead to jaw infection, then spread into the bloodstream, sepsis, a condition often identified through unusual small holes around the jaw and facial bones. For prehistoric humans, even gum inflammation could claim a life within weeks. Remarkably, many skeletons show years of chronic illness, proving that prehistoric bodies, though fragile, were incredibly resilient. Some individuals even carried multiple diseases at once, such as spinal tuberculosis, arthritis, and dental infections. Finally, among the most shocking archaeological findings, evidence of cannibalism is highly controversial but confirmed at many sites across the world. Unlike vague theories, the traces on human bones show this behavior was real and practiced systematically. Archaeologists found many human skeletons bearing signs of flesh scraping, joint separation, and bone breaking to extract marrow, identical to butchering techniques used on animals at the time. Under the microscope, cut marks on human bones show the same sharp edges of stone knives with consistent cutting direction and depth similar to prehistoric animal processing. One of the most famous sites is Gough's cave in England. There, human skulls were carefully crafted into drinking vessels. The edges polished smooth, the tops cut evenly, and the interiors treated to avoid scratching the lips when used. These cannot be the result of accidents or animal activity. They were intentional and ritualistic. Leg and arm bones found in the same cave showed cut marks indicating the flesh had been removed, and the bones were then broken to extract marrow, a vital nutrient during periods of scarcity. This leads to two main hypotheses: survival cannibalism during extremely harsh climates, or ritualistic or symbolic cannibalism, possibly to honor the dead or absorb the strength of rivals. Many other sites, such as El Cedron in Spain, reveal similar patterns where the bodies of entire Neanderthal groups were processed like animals. It is important to note that cannibalism was not widespread, but it happened enough to show that in extreme conditions, famine, freezing temperatures, or ancient ritual contexts, humans could cross moral boundaries we now see as unthinkable. And these are the horrific deaths prehistoric humans endured. Stories told not through writing, but through the marks still preserved on their bones. Looking back at these deaths, we realize that fragility, suffering, and repeated brushes with extinction taught humanity how to endure, and that is why we exist today. We hope today's video has helped you understand the harsh survival journey of our ancient ancestors. If you found this content interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future explorations. Thank you for watching until the end. See you in the next video.